In the history of MMA, there are quite a few vivid, memorable confrontations, but not every one of them has such a percentage of rage and intensity as in the confrontation between Quinton Rampage Jackson and Wanderlei Silva. These guys managed to fight as many as 4 times, and in this video we will recall the entire chronology of events and how this whole story developed.
That's my advantage. Most people that fight Wanderlei is scared of him. I'm not scared of Wanderlei. I'm gonna make Wanderlei scared of me.
It all started with a mess that the fighters made after the Jackson-Randleman bout at the Pride 25 tournament. Jackson finished the monster and then, seeing the champion Silva in the forefront, challenged him to a fight. Wanderlei noticeably had a butt hurt and he ran into the ring to calm the impotent Rampage. In addition to this incident, according to rumors, they also had time to fight at the airport and somewhere in the Pride locker rooms, so their fight was just a matter of time. In 2003, the first Grand Prix for middleweights of 8 people took place in Pride, and both guys took part in it, while they were drawn on opposite sides of the tournament grid, and their meeting could only take place in the final. At the first stage, Rampage passed the Jiu-Jitsu black belt and the former UFC champion Brazilian Murilo Bustamante, winning the fight by split decision. Then Rampage got along with MMA legend Chuck Liddell, who went out to the battle along the well-known UFC melody while he was wearing a hockey jersey with the same logo. These were the times when Dana White didn't even disdain such advertising tricks. And Jackson later admitted that the president of Pride personally approached him with a request to deal with Chuck at all costs, since it was more than just a semi-final. Iceman started this fight well from a distance, but then ran into 2 countered power jabs, which were reinforced by 2 heavy right missiles. Chuck tried to work as the first number, but it was Quinton's attacks that were sharper and more accurate. So Dana White, who watched this battle from the front row, was probably nervous. His hope and the best fighter in fact was overtaken in a stance by the basic wrestler, and for the sake of completeness, some crazy slam from Rampage was missing. The fight went to the second round, but the picture hasn't changed. Rampage dropped Chuck and then took a position from above, crumbled his body with blows along the pleasant buzzing of the Japanese audience, who wanted Iceman's blood. Chuck's corners understood everything and threw away the towel, after which the referee stopped the fight. It was a real fiasco for Liddell, who came for Silva's head, but was destroyed by Jackson. After that, Iceman didn't appear in Japan again. Quinton made it to the Grand Prix final, which was held that same evening. At the same time, Wanderlei was also unable to pass the semifinals without spending his energy, as he faced serious resistance from judoka Hidehiko Yoshida, who was defeated by a decision in the fight of the year in 2003. The beginning of the fight, and Rampage charges Silva to the slam, but instead of a hard landing in the Arona style, he carefully puts the opponent onto the canvas and frees his head from the lock. Wanderlei goes for the armbar, but instead of winning, he receives a portion of powerful punches from Rampage. What happened next was like a genocide, in which Silva knew a lot. He smashed Rampage with his knees without a drop of mercy, and even despite Jackson's smile, he clearly had no time for laughter. The referee stopped the fight and Silva became the middleweight Grand Prix champion, and after the fight, despite their issues, the fighters showed mutual respect and closed the first of 4 chapters of this fierce confrontation. After the end of the first episode, Wanderlei began to beat the Japanese. First he kicked Minova Man's ass, and then Yuki Kondo got the same. At this fight, Rampage also was in the hall, and then he went up the ring to look Silva in the eyes. The second mega fight between Wanderlei and Jackson took place at Pride 28, which took place on October 31st, 2004. This fight became the main event of the evening and even overshadowed such a confrontation as Miko Crocco vs Josh Barnett. The first to go to the ring was Rampage, who according to tradition howled at the moon and then called an ambulance beforehand so that they were ready to take the body out of the ring. Following Rampage to the Brazilian anthem, the champion Wanderlei Silva appeared, and then fighters meeting in the center of the ring again looked into each other's eyes. Silva's stare-downs are the unique type of bedtime horror stories.
Elbows and lethal knees. Mario, we talked about it earlier.
Fighters set a high pace from the very beginning. They arranged an exchange and knee shootout from the tie clinch. When the fight went to the ground, Rampage, in attempts to finish off the Brazilian, almost fell into a triangle but threw off the lock in time. At the very end of the round, Jackson was very close to Silva's finish, but the gong saved the Brazilian and gave him the opportunity to take a breath. The second round began with another exchange and transfer to the ground from Rampage, but he very quickly lost the position and ended up under Silva. The Brazilian decided to stomp Rampage's head into canvas, but thanks to his bloodlust, he let Jackson get to his feet.
145 remaining round 2, and Jackson walks into a right hand and he's stunned. He's ready.
Silva executed Rampage again, knocking him out in the clinch with his knees, and it became scary for Quinton's condition as he collapsed as if the Brazilian had just murdered him. But then he found the strength to go up to his abuser and congratulate him on his victory in this excellent fight, which was recognized as the fight of the year in Pride. After such a gorgeous performance, the ways of our heroes parted for as much as 4 years. During this period, Rampage left for UFC, where he became a champion, knocking out an old friend of Chuck Liddell. Silva wasn't doing so well at the time, as his 5 years unbeaten streak of 18 fights has ended, and soon he completely lost his title after being knocked out by Dan Henderson. On December 27, 2008, their third fight took place, and this time in the UFC cage. At the weigh-in, the intensity began to reach a new level after Wanderlei couldn't cope with his nerves and arranged a small scuffle. He also reminded Rampage of past days with his knees, which he will remember for the rest of his life. In the first round, after the exchange, Jackson threw out the left one, which perfectly went into the chin and put out the light for Silva. It was an overwhelming knockout, and Rampage was able to settle the score, which is now 2-1 in Wanderlei's favor. After the third battle, it seemed that this confrontation was over, but both of our heroes decided that it was worth fighting one more battle, and in 2018 it took place. This time they fought at Bellator, with Wanderlei not fighting at all from 2013 to 17. But apparently Scott Coker offered the nice fees, and our heroes have already shared the cage 4 times. In this veteran showdown, Rampage turned out to be stronger, and in the second round finished 42-year-old Silva and seems to have put an end to this violent confrontation. However, who knows these old gangsters? Maybe in 5 years they will decide to fight again. In our time, even such veterans as Holyfield and Tyson decided to fight again. But one way or another, this confrontation will go down into history, since it doesn't often happen that fighters fought 4 times and even showed such a spectacle as Rampage and Silva in their first battles. If you liked my video, support it with a like, and also subscribe to the channel and press the bell to stay in touch and not to miss the next reviews.